Hey everybody, thanks for visiting Long Short Squeeze, also known as Wizard of Stocks. You could follow me on Twitter. Today is March 25th, 2013. I want to first start off by talking about Jim Cramer because I thought that this was pretty interesting. Um, as everybody, or as all my followers know, we got long Blackberry on March 11th, and I also did a previous video talking about going long BlackBerry and how I was prior to that short in the 1650s, and we had covered in the 13s, and then went long the very same morning that BlackBerry went from $13 to almost $15, which was March 11th of 2013. That weekend of right before March 11th, that Monday, I had talked about how I was going to go long a stock, and it was going to be a stock that I had been short, and I was preparing everybody to get to know the name, but first I wanted to give myself enough time to get out of my position and get long. So I want to talk about what happened to Jim Cramer. Okay, first off, throughout this whole run, he's been wrong about BlackBerry. He could not see it. When the stock was going up, people were calling Mad Money and asking him about BlackBerry, and he was completely shrugging off the story. Truth be told, a couple months later, BlackBerry is 200% higher, and now Jim Cramer's forced to take a second look. So in this interview on March 20th, this is now BlackBerry being up over 250% over the past couple months. Jim Cramer finally decides to take a bullish stand. So now this is 8 days after, or 9 days after we had taken the stand at 13, and the stock at this point on the 20th is sitting at 17, and Jim Cramer is being asked about BlackBerry. And listen to what he says. I want to show you the hypocrisy in his thinking. Remember, guys, what I'm talking about here is proving that pro traders that are not actually professional traders that make money, they're just newsletter writers or gurus of some BS clown talk. This is what this guy is doing. He's not a real successful trader. His calls, when you study this guy and the way he thinks and you see the way he acts and the things he says. Let me just play this for you guys so that you could see what I'm talking about first here on March 20th. Now, let me mind you again, BlackBerry is at about $16 here at this interview.
Right, and that's enough right now at this stage to recommend the stock. And I've got to tell you, if it breaks through this level, it's technically very strong.
It's like 1590 roughly right now.
If it can break through that level, it's going to go right to 20.
All right, so it sounds like Morgan Stanley had the right idea. Jim agrees, and it looks like BlackBerry could head to that $22 mark.
Now, notice that on March 20th, when BlackBerry trading at about $16, it goes to as high as $16.44. That was the high at this point. So now Cramer missed. The fact that he missed this whole move here, then it comes down, he misses the pullback, he can't pull the trigger, then finally rims up, and then it gaps up. He can't take it anymore. March 20th is the gap up that he can't take it anymore. He has to get long. Well, to prove to you, just like Jim Cramer and all these other, bloggers that I always talk, that you can use them as great short-term contra indicators like AC Investor Blog and B-Man Alerts and all these people that you could find on Twitter. So many of them, that you could use these guys as short-term indicators that if you're in a position and then they finally jump on and you've been making money, you can use them as an indicator that the stock is probably going to now pull the other way. So now, let me mind you that now that Jim on March 20th is pretty much bullish, and anybody who's been following that hasn't gotten long yet is going to say, wow, he's bullish here, 16, let me buy some, let me pull the trigger, right? This is what his followers get the following days. One of the largest down days, okay, in this recent pullback for the last month and a half. Okay, so it's one of the larger down days, and another gap down day on a Goldman Sachs downgrade, which happens on the 25th. So now the Goldman Sachs downgrade on the 25th brings Cramer back onto the street, okay, to talk his game up again. And listen to how funny this is. Now you get to see Cramer a little panicked, because even if he was giving out that position to, let's say, his fan base, he might have taken that position in his own portfolio, because Cramer, like everybody else, is a gambler. They want to stay in the market. These guys get a thrill. You see, Cramer and all these other fraud gurus, what they do is they make tons of money by running subscriptions and news services, all these other, media outlets that produce income, and then they use the money to trade, just like a gambler, just like a casino owner. You just still love the game. So that's where Cramer's at. And now watch how Cramer changes his composure here, which I think is pretty funny. This is when you get to see how Cramer, he goes from being steadfast and thinking that BlackBerry is going to go from 15 or 1590, where it was at when they were talking at that very moment, to 20. He thinks it's going to go to 20, right? But now we've seen it go, sitting at that high 16s from when Cramer was talking up RAM. So let's say he was buying it up, him and his fan base, right there in the 16s. Now he's seen it pull back to the 14s on a Goldman Sachs downgrade. Further comments coming after this video. I want you guys to watch this.
There's been a lot of controversy this morning
Yes.
about that Goldman downgrade, because it was just November 29th when they upgraded the stock.
But it was a good call. Why should we ever look a gift horse? That was a very good call, Deborah. They got in when people didn't like it. I'm waiting to hear.
I want to say something there. Now, Cramer says that Goldman Sachs made a very good call on November 29th. And then I think he goes on to explain that, basically they got in when nobody else wanted it, and that it was, that basically was that it was a good call. So let me point out what happened here so that you guys can understand something. Okay, you guys need to understand something that you won't hear this from somebody like Cramer, because Cramer hasn't sat down and analyzed the game. He's made money in one of those once in a lifetime type fashions. In such disorderly fashion, he almost lost his all fund and then made money, just like he hit the lottery. Like literally, it was like the same rally we've been having right now in the market for the past 2.5 months, where the market keeps going up. That's the type of turnaround leveraged rally he had, that he was able to just make back his losses and then some, and then retire. Okay, it's pathetic. Anyway, here's the point. So on November 29th, Goldman Sachs upgrades RIM. Now, here's the situation that you guys need to understand, right? Goldman Sachs, they can control and pretty much run a float. I mean, it's possible. It's very easy for them to manipulate the pool of stock that was in this company at this time. See, now if they upgraded, see, now you have to think about this. If they upgraded BlackBerry on November 29th, right? That means they upgraded BlackBerry right here, okay? Right at this red candle bar, okay? That's about $12.30. The stock was trading at about $7 and change, okay? Now, if they upgraded BlackBerry at that point, that means that they've been quietly accumulating BlackBerry back in the summer of 2012. So now they upgraded. So why would they upgrade it up here? They definitely didn't buy it up here, okay? So the point is, and then here's now the suspicious part. See, now Cramer completely misses the point. Either he's a shill that knows exactly what's going on with Goldman Sachs and is speaking out against them at this point because he knew that they were going to sell into Cramer's talk, let's say, in March, right around here. So if Cramer's still talking up RIM, he could possibly be leading his followers into some Goldman Sachs selling so that they could drive the price lower, stop some people out, make some more money, and then drive it back higher. Because I will tell you this, folks, that Goldman Sachs downgrade that came right here, okay, on March 25th makes no sense at all. Think about this, okay? March 25th, they now downgrade the stock. November 29th, they upgrade the stock, okay? So that goes to show you, why would they downgrade the stock if it's $2 away from where they originally upgraded it? Point is, they want to shake people out. They want to get people out of the stock. You can't take these upgrades and downgrades at face value. There's a reason why it's done, okay? That's something Cramer won't tell you. But let me go back and show you more of what Cramer said.
I'm waiting to hear from Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley put out a sum of the parts piece which said, don't worry about this device. Because it turned out that people who thought the device was going to be a game changer, at least in this country, are disappointed. Now, I'd also like to know why people didn't know that ATT wouldn't support it. That was one of the stories I kept hearing. Well, they would go to stores and ATT wasn't behind it. Now, that was something that I think could have been found out. That was, we would say at my old hedge fund, found outable. That was found outable.
Was
and you
it
didn't
secret
find
information?
it out. Right. So I want to buy the stock ahead of the quarter. And let me give my reasoning. On the quarter, I think this company is a reformed spender of its own money. It used to spend like a drunken sailor. No more. I think that the company has a great subscriber list. I think that it's been a footballed stock, 12.15, 12.15. As we go down, I want you to buy it for trade. That's what I recommended on Mad Money on Friday, saying as it came in, buy it for trade into the quarter, but then get rid of it if it doesn't pop at the quarter. I don't think it's going to go down that much, but I do think that Morgan Stanley is going to defend it here.
Okay, so here's another interesting side note to all this. Citigroup came in.
Wait, so as you see right there, he said that he recommended it on Mad Money on Friday, but no, you didn't. You actually recommended it 2 days earlier when it was at 16. So you never recommended it on the pull-in. You recommended it when it was already at its highs at that 16 and change. So you and all your members that followed you right on March 20th, when you came out with this video, got in at 16 and now seen it pull back $2. Okay, unlike my followers who got in at 13 and at least got to see it go up to 17. Now it's sitting back at 14. Okay, so now the point is that now he said one lie. Okay, so that's a lie right there. You know what? It's not a lie. I mean, he's just not telling you, I guess, the full truth. Okay, so you're telling us you told us on March 22nd, but I guess you'll forget about March 20th. Now let's continue to go a little forward. I want you guys to hear this part, because now you get to see how fickle and how scared and how dumb he is, because now you get to realize that this man can't even put on a trade and hold it. He's like a child. I mean, you could see it. This guy has been beaten up by the stock market. I mean, all it takes is just a little experience in the stock market, a little beating for yourself, and you could see another loser. All right, let's see this.
Right, this is not a
Blackberry.
typewriter versus a word processor.
Okay.
This is another device that many people still like. Obviously, it's been in decline. That's why the stock used to be at 70. Now it's in the low teens. But I do believe that there's been supporters of it down here, and they will come out of the woodwork, and therefore it's a good trade. If the trade doesn't work, cut your losses on Thursday.
All right, there you go. Jim
Thank
summed
you.
it up pretty well.
So if you notice before, he said, I took this trade just going into the quarter, so basically going into their earnings. And now he's telling you, so he just told you that at the beginning of the interview, he took it just for the quarter, okay? So basically the trade started on March 20th, and he's taking it into the quarter, so, okay, now the stock has fell into the quarter. Suspicious. Who's doing that? Is it Goldman Sachs? Are they selling into this? Are they trying to scare people out into the quarter? Are they trying to use the media because Goldman Sachs wants more for themselves? That's a question. But now, just to show you how the dummies in between, they always lose money while the big guys are sitting and holding the real positions. Cramer just basically told you right there and then that he was going to dump it after Thursday. So if the stock never gets back up to 16, he's going to dump it. And if it does, then you're just going to break even. If Thursday it gets back up to 16, and if it only goes up $1, let's say BlackBerry stays here at 14, and then when the quarter earnings come out, it gaps up to 17 and change, which would be great for us. Cramer will look like, oh, look, I got you guys all in, but he was in his 16s, so he took a $2.50 risk to the downside, and he's going to tell everybody to sell at that moment in time. You will watch, you will see on Mad Money, he'll tell you to ring the register, and he'll give you the reasons why. Or he'll watch this and get a whiff of this, because I'm going to send this to him on Twitter, and he's going to change his mind and say, you know what, hold BlackBerry. But we'll see. We'll see.